You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So, year number 6, kicking off year number 6, and what a great way to celebrate the year number 6 than recording on January 6th.
Hey, what year is this?
2022. Year 6.
No. What year of the podcast?
Year 6.
Huh. I missed that somewhere.
I see what you did there. This is why we don't record.
Number 6, we bring the jokes.
This is why we don't record after 12 o'clock on most days. But, as we're kicking off a new year and, everybody kind of does this in some way, shape, or form. We talk about new year, new you, or, this is the day of new beginnings or whatever, New Year's resolutions or your star word or your word of the year or whatever the tea leaves tell you for the year, whatever, eat your black-eyed peas, whatever.
Hey, and so we kind of black-eyed peas in hand, baby.
We kind of wanted to reflect upon that today and just kind of, talk about how we feel about that stuff and, how we kind of kick off our years and, what a better way to do that than just have that conversation. And so, Zach, as you think about all that stuff, of this idea of the newness of the new year, what are some reflections that you have on that?
Yeah, I've approached it differently this year than I have in years in the past. Just in the sense of how I guess I have a New Year's resolution. I have some goals and things that I want to do this year. And sparing you the details on all of that, I still have that stuff, but the way that I'm approaching it this year, rather than I want to accomplish these things and here's how I'm going to do it. And if I don't get X, Y, and Z done, I'm out, right? I'm going to move on to the next goal. For me, it's this year's about being gentle. And I talked a whole lot about that in December, leading into Christmas Eve, about being gentle with ourselves. And that's just going to continue to be my theme through 2022. There's places I want to go. There's things I want to accomplish for my job. I want to run a marathon, or a half marathon. Sorry. Half marathon. Don't hold me to that, podcast listeners. But being gentle with myself, that if we try something and fail, great. We tried something. If we miss a run, awesome. It's fine. Being gentle with myself on metrics and really self-expectations. Because I think that's what has gotten me in trouble or discouraged me in years past, is my own expectations, whether real for myself or perceived from others, whatever it is, that just put weight upon my shoulders and upon my heart. And rather than just jumping into things fully, I have that weight holding me back a little bit. And so this year I'm just gonna be gentle. That's my word. Right? Whatever it is, whatever the theme is for me, it's going to be being gentle on myself and being gentle with others, because I hold all those same expectations that are often unreasonable for me and myself. I hold other people to those too. And so I'm going to be working on being gentle with myself and others this year.
As I think about it, and as I think, I have to admit, one of my favorite hymns is "This Is a Day of New Beginnings." It's a beautiful tone, beautiful. The hymn working is amazing, and as we sang it on Sunday, kind of as a kickoff for our year, and thinking about how this is a new beginning, and yes, it's going to look different, and yes, it's not going to be, it's not going to be like it was in 2021. It's not going to be like it was in 2020. It was not going to be like it was in 2019, and that's okay. Our job is to look forward and move on. And not be held back by our past, but move forward towards growth. And one of the things I've really discovered in this last year, as I've grown quite a bit in different ways, is that growing hurts. Growing old hurts. I'm dealing with hip issues at under 40. Just watching people grow, whether it's spiritually or realizing that there's some violence in that. And I always say, I've thought about this a lot lately of thinking about the seed. When a seed grows, it's a violent growth. It just doesn't just like appear out of the seed. The violence that comes out of that is beautiful but necessary.
Mhm.
And that sometimes we have to move through the pain to the other side. And yes, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I just had my first hip injection yesterday, and I'm feeling pretty good. But as that pain starts to come back, how am I going to move forward through that? And I think for me this year, it's learning to not be held back by those things, the pain, the data, because I'm a C, so I get held off on data, but to move through that and to be and to do the best I can with what I have available. And that takes time, energy, and effort to recognize when I'm being held up, but to be willing to move forward. and
Mhm.
and so as I think about moving forward, I think it's about just you know being excited about what is to come, as I am, but then acknowledging that this is going to some of the stuff's going to take time, and we're just gonna have to sit and wait patiently and be okay with newness. And that
Mhm.
um let's be real and honest that the church is changing, has changed, will change into what I don't know, and I'm okay with that. And that we need to move forward from the old metrics and move into some new ones about building relationships with people, with God, and be willing to take some risk, like you said, of doing some new and exciting things. And it's okay to fail. Like I
Mhm.
want to give everybody permission. It's okay to fail, but just try something and see where that leads you. It may
Well,
lead you to bigger things.
right, and that's the thing, right? That we look at the new year and we go, oh, here's where we're at. Here's where we want to be. And you're right. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes change. You know, over the last 6 years, I'm sure we've talked a whole lot about change on this podcast. And if you've listened to any, we're big proponents of change. But even with that, it's hard. And yeah, you have those growth spurts that hurt and are frustrating, and yet it's the journey that gets us there, right? There are these necessary things, and in that change, you may take a step back, you may take a bunch of steps forward, and for me, I guess that's what I get stuck in with the new year stuff is I have like anybody else, we want to do all these things and by February we're done. We're tired. We're over it. And not forgetting that gosh, this is a process and it's really not a process that lasts the next 12 months and then resets. We're in a continual process of this growing, of this changing, of this learning and just being and I think that's where that just comes back to being gentle for me is is remembering that really this 12-month calendar that we live on doesn't mean a whole bunch. It gives us some seasons and some things to look forward to and some consistency, but things don't start and end January 1 and December 31st, right? They're continual. And maybe COVID's really helped me realize that of, all right, new year, screw you 2021, we're on to 2022. Same old crap. Same old pandemic, same old stuff we've been dealing with for 2 years now, or better. And and that's okay. That's part of it. And it's growing and changing us and changing the world around us. And that's all right. Um, there's some embodying, embracing that we can do with that, and there's some resisting that we can do too. But finding healthy ways to process through that, and knowing that man, we're just plugging forward. We're just pushing forward the best we can uh, to make something of this. And like you said, Matt, what is it? I don't know either. Um, but I'm kind of pretty damn excited about it. Uh, really excited about the direction that maybe the world is going, maybe the church world is going. I don't know. Uh, but I think there's quite a bit of hope in moving forward.
Well, and I think that's a is a life continues when it moves forward. If you don't move, you die. I mean,
Mhm.
that's we're built that way. I mean, most living organisms are built. If they don't move, they die. And so we have to move. And with that movement comes, pain, comes newness, comes shedding of old selves. And,
Yeah.
like I think back, we think back to this podcast, we've been doing this for 6 years, and we have definitely changed and pivoted many and many a times on how we do this, and, things that we're doing, and ideas that we had that either didn't fall or, I remember those first couple of episodes when you watch those and you're like, oh my gosh, what were we thinking?
Mm-hmm.
But here we are 6 years later, and, we've learned so much and being able to do so much in that. And for us, I mean, I shared this, is that this is really a, great spiritual practice for me. And it's helped me, have conversations I wouldn't have otherwise, or be willing to, look at scripture that I wouldn't really necessarily look at or preaching on. And it's always kind of nice. And just having those spaces is kind of vital for you to grow. And so just put yourself in a place to grow. And it's okay to surrender oneself to growth and say it's going to happen, and and have expectations, but also understand, and we all know that sometimes we're not going to meet the bar, but also realize, as a fan of baseball, you can go 1 for 4 your whole career and be pretty darn successful.
Right.
And I think that's something that gets lost in the church. And that even in this idea of a Wesleyan theology of moving towards perfection, it's not hitting 1,000 all the time. It's getting better as we grow in our faith. And that's what's important. Are we getting better? How is it with your soul? Are you getting better in your faith? That's vital.
And that's the thing I love about, just Wesleyan theology and grace in and of itself, is it leans into the journey of what life is, and makes that space for us to be human, and be who God's created us to be, and have all of the ups and downs that we have that are just jam-packed full of grace. And that's what brought me into the church. It's what kept me, and it's what keeps me moving forward. And I love that journey. And I love reflecting upon it at the beginning of every year and see how far we've come, and hope, be hopeful about where we're going.
Yeah. And so as we move forward, with this new year and season 6,
would you say we're moving on to perfection in season 6?
We strive for it. Will we mess up? Yes. Will we
100%.
Exit out the back door? Yes. Will we have to knock on the door of justification again? Yes. Will we have to agree to have holy living again? Yes. But we're Methodists, and that's what we do.
Amen.
Just preach with the high hand. As we bring this episode to a close, we want to encourage you to like us, share us, share this with your friends, share the podcast with your friends and family that you may have that may need something like this. It's a great way to introduce people to the faith. We're very basic, but yet we're a good starting point for most people. And so we want to encourage you to do that. You can find all of our great content at beardedtheologians.com. And I mean, great content. There is a lot of great content after 5 years of doing this.
Taking all the bad ones off.
Yes, the bad ones don't exist anymore. No, we want you to see us for who we are and what we've done. We just don't ever encourage you to go back and listen to season 1. Probably the first 9 episodes, just don't mess with. But that's okay. We've learned a lot since then. As we remember, what we used to use in our equipment that we used to have. But we want to encourage you to go to our website at beardedtheologians.com. Give us 5 stars, write a review for us. That helps us get our word out about what we do. Because our real big goal of this, and has been since the very beginning, is to model what healthy theological conversation can look like, and just talk about some things that doesn't necessarily get talked about in the church in some way, shape, or form. And so encourage you to do that, and don't forget to buy a t-shirt or mug. They're great gifts. You've got all those holidays coming up: Valentine's Day, Dad's Day, graduation gifts, all those other holidays that happen in between. So for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
First, guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video, and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.